So, is social media doing more harm than good, or is it an essential way of keeping in touch? Well, joining me now to discuss this, a mental health campaigner, Abigail Turner. Very good morning to you. And Sam Bowman from the think tank, the Adam Smith Institute. Well, thanks very much to both of you for joining us this morning. Just before we get started, a reminder, of course, you can get in touch as well. Tweet us at Sky Samantha or at Sky News, including the hashtag Sky Debate. Text us as well, 84501, or email us news@sky.com. Let us know what you think, or if there's any points you'd like me to put to our guests here, I will, of course, read out some of your comments as we go along. So, Abigail, to you first. Tell us what happened to you.
Well, as a teenager, kind of Facebook and Twitter was still taking off. But during sort of my later adolescent years, some people were sending me anonymous abusive messages, and there would be people who knew this sensitive information about me. So although they were anonymous, I could guess the kind of people who were sending it, and it's really not very pleasant to receive these things. It makes the problems I was having worse. I felt like I wasn't fitting in, and I was just receiving abuse from people who I supposedly trusted.
Did it feel worse to you than if it had happened in person? Because, you know, the argument goes that before social media came along, you know, kids were bullied by other children, they were ostracised often by other kids. You know, there's kids that are queen bees and exclude others. You know, that's gone on since time immemorial. But did it feel worse to you that it wasn't in person, it was viral?
I feel like there's no way that people would say some of the things that they said to me online if they were me. They wouldn't have been so abusive. I think it is worse online because you don't know who's saying it to you, and like I said, if you think you know this person and someone who knows this information about you is abusing you, then you don't really know who to trust anymore.
Sam Bowman, it's a fair point, isn't it, and one we've heard since the creation of social media, that people feel braver. They're more brazen, they're more outspoken on social media. They feel they can say things, hurtful things to people that they would never say to their face, and that does cause a lot of issues for people.
It's true, and cyberbullying is horrendous, but we also get bullying in schoolyards, in workplaces, and we don't say that school is bad or work is bad because of those.
It's different, but it's different. I just asked Abigail that same point, but it is different, isn't it? Because, you know, there may be one kid who picks you on you in the playground, but, you know, you can then go to a teacher and say, hang on, that kid just did that, or you can go home to your parents. If you're getting a slew of tweets or messages on Instagram saying unpleasant things about you, it's kind of harder, isn't it, to then face up to that, maybe, or face down those people.
Maybe it is, but I think that schoolyard bullying is a bit tougher than you're suggesting. I think bullying of any kind is really difficult for the victim, and we don't just dismiss school because it takes place there, or dismiss workplaces because there's bullying in the workplace. I don't think it's social media that's the problem here, it's people. People are just bad, and wherever you get people, you will get bullying. But let's look at the good parts of this as well. If you're a kid, and you have interests, let's say you're interested in music or in politics or things that the people you go to school with aren't interested in, social media can be a real escape, you know. It can be very, very lonely to have interests that people around you don't share. And social media gives you an opportunity to meet people or to talk to people who do have those interests. So, of course, there are bad parts. Of course, we should do everything we can do to stop bullying, but we should remember that the opportunities that social media opens up are to do with talking to other people and meeting people who share your interests when previously you would just be lonely. And I think that's something we should always remember. There are, of course, bad parts to this, but there are some hugely great things about being able to speak to people that share your interests.
Abigail, what do you think? Where's the balance? Is social media doing more harm than good in your view, in your experience?
I think there are definitely some pro points to social media, but I think for teenagers it's such a crucial point in their social development. I think that it is also wrought with dangers like harassment, stalking, grooming. They can be exposed to all sorts of horrible material online. I think at the same time as well, there is an element that some people who may feel lonely will seek like-minded people on social media, but at the same time, in this digital age, are we really, getting as much, kindred spirits on social media as we think? Because I think that, social media may be making us less lonely, but is it really? Because these people are behind a screen. I don't know.
What do you think about that, Sam? That these people that you meet online, they're not real people often. People don't even ever meet the people in flesh that they communicate with online. But you're saying sometimes they can feel less isolated because they have got that ability to reach out to find a connection with others that they might not have a chance to otherwise?
Well, I mean, I met my flatmate on Twitter originally. Lots of people that I know I originally met on Facebook or Twitter. So I think they are real people, and it's nice to talk to them. Let me actually give you a very sweet example. My granddad is a little bit technologically illiterate, but we got him a smartphone. He's on Facebook now, and it allows me to talk to him. He's back in Ireland every week if I want to. And the nicest thing is he can see photographs of his great-grandson, who's just been born in Brazil. And so, of course, there are bad sides to social media, but being able to speak to your grandfather in another country and him being able to see photographs of his grandson who he gets to meet maybe once every year, that's a really, really powerful thing. And if we focus on the negatives of these things, then we ignore the fact that being able to keep in touch with your family members and your friends, and being able to make new friends who share your interests, is an amazingly valuable thing. And social media, I think, overall, is an enormous force for good, because it allows us to meet new people who are like us and who share our interests, when 20 years ago we would just be on our own. And I think that, okay, fine, you don't get to see them face to face all the time, but if your alternative is to just sit on your own and to not know anybody, then I think it's a great thing to be able to see those people.
Abigail, it's liberating. It allows us to reach out and touch people and make communication, make friends, communicate with people that we wouldn't be able to otherwise.
I think there are instances where social media is essential. There's a charity I work with girls who are going through some difficulties involving self-harm. Sometimes the way that we get in contact with each other is via social media. When you're feeling really low and you've got nowhere else to go, you just pop a message on a group and say, can anybody talk to me? I'm feeling really low. I think that's a really good example of where it can be used for good. On the other hand, I think it's good that, going and talking to your family, yes, it's good. But when you're a teenager and you're trying to reach out to your peers and stuff, I think that's not necessarily what teenagers are always using social media for. They're not always Skyping their friends in a different country. I think they're a lot more open and exposed or vulnerable to the dangers of social media. And we've been finding, through the charity I work for, that they're actually not fully aware of the risks involved in accessing social media, and can open themselves to sort of harassment. So there are good sides, there are bad sides, but I think that we need to sort of raise, safety and risk awareness to the teenagers, because it is really crucial that they aren't exposed to these dangers.
Sam Bowman, do you think enough is done to protect young people, to teach them about how they should be safe online? I mean, I've got at my school, my children are very young. They're not on social media yet, but they have e-safety awareness courses for parents, so they can help them learn how to use it safely. The analogy was made to me in a teacher-parent meeting just the other day, saying it's like teaching a child to cross a road. You don't say you're never going to do it, you're never going to do it. You teach them how to do it safely. Do you think enough focus is on that now?
I think probably there is, yeah. I think Abigail does great work, and people like Abigail are essential. As with any kind of forum for debate or any kind of forum for discussion, there are going to be bad sides to it. But one of the points about school is that it isn't necessarily that there's more bullying, it's that it's a different kind of bullying. It shifts from the schoolyard to social media. Now, it doesn't mean that we should ignore it, but we shouldn't pretend that this is some huge new phenomenon. Bullying has been with us for as long as human beings have been around, and it's disgusting, it's awful, it's horrible. But we can't just pretend that this is a Twitter problem. This is a human problem.
But isn't it not? It's not just about bullying. It's about the sexualisation of young children, the objectification of young girls, the fact that they all need that validation. They're all on Instagram. I know, I've got friends with teenage daughters.
I mean, women have been objectified for centuries. It's not. None of this is new. This is a different way of being bad. All these things are terrible things, but none of them are new. Bullying, objectification of women, body image issues, peer pressure, all of these have been with us for as long as we've been around. And yeah, fine, I think that's terrible. I don't like that. But I think we need to be careful that we're not just throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because there are huge benefits to being able to talk to people who are like you, especially when you're that age. And really, actually, I think we also forget that 20 years ago, I mean, I'm quite old now, but I remember when sort of MSN and sort of messengers like that were first coming into use, and it was amazing.
I'm quite scared now.
Well, yeah, that means you're old, unfortunately. But being able to, but I remember the change, being able to talk to your friends all night long. You know, you're not sitting on your own in your room, but you're able to actually chat to people all night and kind of. And really just engage with them and talk about ideas and talk about what's going on in their life. That's really, really positive, and that's really, really useful. So of course there are bad things, but overall I think that social media and being able to just communicate with other people who are like you is a huge positive.
OK, Sam Bowman, Abigail Turner, good to talk to you, even though if you remember MSN, then you're slightly old coming in. OK, slightly concerned by that. Thank you. Now, Labour will announce its candidate for London Mayor today, but the final choice could highlight a further clash of party ideals. Sky senior political correspondent Jason Farrell has this report.
The faces of a contest that might have slipped under your radar. Labour is about to choose its candidate for London Mayor, and one question is how well that person will get on with whoever wins the Labour leadership contest.
I think the London Mayor will work very closely with whoever the Labour leader is, because that election next year, in 2016, is a key election for Labour nationally. It should be the start of Labour's fight back to win in 2020.
But what if Labour chooses left-wing Jeremy Corbyn as its leader and Blairite Tessa Jowell as mayor? The former Olympics minister says her focus will be less on party unity, more on winning broad support.